Yeah, the seven realities. Meher Baba gives no importance to creed, dogma, caste systems, and the performance of religious ceremonies and rites, but to the understanding of the following seven realities. The only real existence is that of the one and only God, who is the self in every finite self. The only real love is the love for this infinity, God, which arouses an intense longing to see, know, and become one with its truth, God. The only real sacrifice is that in which, in pursuance of this love, all things, body, mind, position, welfare, and even life itself, are sacrificed. The only real renunciation is that abandons, even in the midst of worldly duties, all selfish thoughts and desires. The only real knowledge is the knowledge that God is the inner dweller in all, in good people and so called bad, in saint and so called sinner. This knowledge requires you to help all equally as circumstances demand, without expectation of reward, and when compelled to take part in a dispute, to act without the slightest trace of enmity or hatred, to try to make others happy with brotherly or sisterly feeling for each one, to harm no one in thought, word, and deed, and not even those who harm you. The only real control is the discipline of the senses from indulgence in low desires, which alone ensures absolute purity of character. The only real surrender is that in which the poise is undisturbed by any adverse circumstance, and the individual, amidst every kind of hardship, is resigned with perfect calm to the will of God. Avtar Meher Baba ki Jai.
Here, Baba picture. So let me share my screen.
Avatar Meher Baba ki jai. I just want to share with this forum that my youngest son has been blessed with a uh, Girl Lakshmi or a baby girl on 25th July. Jai Baba.
Here, Baba, congratulations.
Yes, thank you.
Jai Baba, Jai Baba, Jai Baba.
Yes.
Congratulations, Ashokji. It's the first baby?
Yeah, he's the first baby, and both are all there in New Jersey, and
Okay,
both are fine. So actually,
good,
that's
good.
what we've been going through this last uh, 2 days. Has been a lot of calls and with a
Yeah,
lot
yeah.
of grace and Baba's blessing.
Jai Baba.
Jai Baba.
Okay, so I will start reading. I think last time I was not there, but since it stopped at page number 198, I can see this bookmark here. I will
Yeah. So
start from there.
I suggest the following, Praveen ji, that uh, you can start reading, and then thereafter, Sanjay ji, are you in a position to read? Hello. Maybe between you and Sanjay.
Ashok, actually, today I'm not in a position to read because actually my son is.
It's okay. So then, Praveen ji, you can start. Yes, yes. Okay.
Praveen said he is not in the position today to read. I think
Acha,
he
you're not in a
he's,
position to read. So then,
yeah.
Sanjay, can you read? Sanjay?
I'll take a few minutes. So, who can?
I can start them.
Yeah, yeah. You start and then I'll join. Yeah, maybe we can just do 45 minutes to 1 hour. Yeah, if there are not
Yeah.
many people.
What happened to Karthik?
He's
Karthik, he said
traveling,
he's
no, for
traveling.
his son. For his
Oh,
son's admission, he's in Roorkee. He was to go to
Oh, okay.
Roorkee. He told us. Yeah. Yeah, Baba.
Okay, Baba.
Let's start. Yeah.
so Baba heard.
Sorry, this one.
Baba heard the car drive up and sent his night watchman to ask who had arrived. Even though he never received visitors after he had retired at night, Baba allowed Hirji to come to his bedroom and agreed to an examination. Hirji very gently questioned Baba and was surprised to find him so alert since his blood urea had tested very high. When Hirji, who had not brought his medical bag with him, asked Gohar for a stethoscope, Baba told him, "Never mind, just put your ear to my chest." Hirji was very touched by such an intimate gesture. Normally, the breath of a person with a such high blood urea would smell strongly, but as Hirji raised his head from Baba's chest, he was surprised that no order came from Baba's mouth. He very gently suggested to Baba that he consult specialists about his condition, even if only to please the Mandali who were so worried about him. Baba's response to Hirji's urging was a smile and short spiritual discourse. This meeting was the key that opened Hirji's heart to Baba. Our beloved Baba's condition worst daily to the point where he could not even sit up on his own. It took at least four people to help him, one supporting Baba's neck, the second holding his shoulders, another supporting his back, and someone holding his legs under the knees. Slowly, they would lift Baba to a sitting position on the edge of his head on his bed with his feet on a pillow on the floor. Another pillow would be placed behind Baba's back, and someone would sit against it back to back with Baba to give him support. Even this position was very painful for him, and Baba could sit for barely half an hour. At times, Baba would implore Gohar to help him, saying, "Oh, I am dying, do something." Yet he kept refusing to let her call a specialist. She would say, "I don't know what to do, Baba. Now only you can tell me what I should do for you." Finally, it was impossible for Gohar to bear Baba's suffering any longer, and all the Mandali agreed that she should arrange for an ambulance to take Baba to Pune for tests. She suspected there was something terrible wrong internally as Baba was complaining of pain in his abdomen. Iraj's brother Merwan made arrangements for a hospital room in Pune, and Erach and Gohar very gently pleaded with Baba to go. I was present in the room at the time and saw Baba firmly say no. When Gohar and Erach continued to plead with him, Baba, with very stern face, finally said, "Don't take me to Pune. I know everything. I am not mad. If you want me to drop this body, then take me to Pune." With these words, Gohar and Erach fell silent, and they did not bring the subject up again. From that time on, Gohar simply tried to make Baba more comfortable, and she arranged for a surgical bed on which Baba spent his last days. This bed was later placed in the blue bus, where it was remained ever since. Helplessness and despondency overcome us. I cannot describe the agony of these days. Baba was suffering so much, and we could do nothing to alleviate his pain. He stopped eating, then he didn't even want to drink anything. Only with great persuasion would he have juice. Okay, let
अच्छा
me.
अच्छा हाँ नीचे आ गया हाँ हाँ when last time it was like that
Jema,
Yeah, I was present in the room at
Shekhar,
that time.
Shekhara Muniyalappa on the call.
Hi,
Hello?
Shekara.
Yeah.
Jai Baba.
Good morning.
Hey,
Jai Baba.
hello, hello, Shekara.
Yeah.
Could you introduce yourself? And
Yeah. Good morning, everyone. Jai Baba. My name is Shekhar Amunelapa. You can call me Shekhar. So I live
okay,
in Dubai. I'm working in Dubai. This is
okay,
first.
welcome.
Thank you. Thank you. Uh, I'm just interested in listening that book. Readers.
Jai Baba.
Jai Baba.
Hi, Jay Baba. Jai Baba.
I will continue.
Yeah, please.
If you want, yeah, if you want me to drop this body, then take me to Pune. With these words, Gohar and Iraj feel silent, and they did not bring the subject up again. From that time on, Gohar simply tried to make Baba more comfortable, and she arranged for a surgical bed on which Baba spent his last days. This bed was later placed in the blue bus, where it was remained ever since. Helplessness and despondency overcame us. I cannot describe the agony of these days. Baba was suffering so much, and we could do nothing to alleviate his pain. He stopped eating, then he didn't even want to drink anything. Only with great persuasion would we have some juice or other liquid prepared by his beloved Mera. He said that he had a choking feeling and he grew weaker and weaker. Dear Naja, who had cooked for Baba and Mandali for years, would prepare 10 or 12 of his favorite dishes just in case he showed a desire for one of them, but he would not eat even a morsel. One afternoon, Mera gave me a warm drink to take to Erach, who was waiting to give it to Baba. As I was about to hand the cup to Erach, Baba gestured that I should feed him. Baba was lying down, and I tenderly spooned the liquid into his mouth. His eyes looked directly into mine, flooding me with love. Yet I saw a sadness in them that filled my heart with anguish. In his love and compassion, beloved Baba allowed me to feed him that day, knowing he would be with us for only a short time more. I realized later that despite his frail condition, he was finding a moment to give each of us as much as love, as much love as he could in the time he had left. Later, we all reminisced about these special moments with our beloved. Throughout the days, we took turns being with Baba, reading to him, massaging him, trying to get him to eat something. Rano often read to him while I massage him his heads, legs, or wherever he gestured. One day, Baba sent Rano for lunch, leaving me alone with him. For quite some time, Baba had been having spasm in every part of his body, hands, legs, neck, everywhere. But they had been mild and infrequent. Now they were intense, increasing at a terrific rate. I was massaging him when a spasm jerked with his left leg so violently that my hands flew into the air. Startled, I shouted, Baba. I quickly searched his face to see if he was all right. Baba looked at me knowingly as if he wanted me to understand something, but I did not know what it was. Twice during those days, I noticed blue gray shadows across Baba's pale face. His lips were dark gray and his eyes unfocused. I asked Gohar and others if they saw gray patches on Baba's face, but they said that saw nothing. I thought it strange, but no one else saw them when they seemed to so obvious to me. Then, when I was sitting alone with him one day, while he quietly rested with his eyes closed, his sight of beloved Baba in his long white sadra brought an image to me of his lifeless body. I was horrified. I started pers- perspiring, and my heart pounded as I pushed the thought away, not wanting even to consider it. Chapter 21. Your being with me physically is immaterial. It is my being with you that matters. So keep me with you always. Meher Baba. We remained in Merazat with Baba after the December program, but we knew that we might have to return to Bombay on short notice because of Nariman's increasing health problems. Baba had agreed 2 years earlier that he should sell his factory, and the potential buyer had indicated interest shortly before we left for Merazat. In January, Hoshang sent word for Nariman to call him in Bombay. Nariman returned from town after phoning and told Baba that the terms of selling the factory had been settled. His brothers were now waiting for him to come and finalize the sale. Baba told him, I have arranged everything. You and Arnawaz go to Bombay and complete the work and come back soon to Merazat. Leave your other business responsibilities to your brothers and come stay with me for 6 months. Baba told us to go on 19 January, and when we were all packed and ready to leave Merazat, we went to Baba's bedroom for his darshan. I intended to embarrass Baba lightly, so as not to hurt him in his extremely delicate condition, but he surprised me by holding me tightly in his loving arms. Such strength from our darling Baba lifted Nariman's and my spirits. We could not have guessed that this was the last physical embrace we would ever receive from our beloved Godman, that it will be Baba's precious body lying in the crypt that we would return to. When we got back to Bombay, plans concerning the sale of factory moved right along, and a meeting was set to sign the final papers on afternoon of 31st January. At 7 that morning, I was still lying in bed with my eyes closed when I saw a vision. When people had gathered in a big hall and I was outside looking in through the window, everyone was dressed in pure white, as if it were Zoroastrian funeral. Then I looked down and saw that I was wearing a white sari. I opened my eyes and lay quietly with a dreadful feeling in the pit of my stomach. Locking my mind against the thoughts that were churning inside, I went about my daily routine. At 3 that afternoon, while Nariman and his brothers were at the office with the buyers, Adi Senior phoned from Ahmednagar. He said, Arnawaz, listen carefully and patiently. Beloved Baba dropped his body at 12:15 p.m. and he will be interred tomorrow morning. You must convey the news to all lovers in Bombay. Not wanting to believe what Adi had told me, I cried out to beloved Baba for help. Then asked Adi, is it really true? He very gently said, Arnavas, I would not be giving such news as a joke. Coming to my senses, I said, Adi, I'm sorry, I didn't mean that. It just slipped out. Adi told me that Baba had finally allowed Gohar to call one of his lovers, Dr. Ram Ginde, an eminent neurosurgeon in Bombay. Dr. Ginde had reached Adi's office at about 11:15 that morning, but he requested half an hour of rest before going out to see beloved Baba, as he had serious heart condition and had felt pain in his chest during his journey. When Dr. Ginde and Adi reached Mirazat, they found Erach trying to revive Baba by giving him mouth-to-mouth resuscitation. No one wanted to accept what had happened, but Dr. Ginde very gently and solemnly confirmed that Baba was no longer in the physical body. It was Dr. Gohar's sad duty to fill out the death certificate of our most precious Lord Meher Baba. I put down the phone and sat there dazed, not knowing what to do. Then, gathering courage, I phoned Behram at the office, as I could not bear to give such bringing news directly to my dear Nariman. On hearing about Baba, Nariman contained his emotion but immediately cancelled the meeting, leaving the office to come home and prepare to go to Ahmednagar. I have phoned Nargis, but my brother Huma picked up the phone. Sarosh had just arrived at their house from Ahmednagar, but had obviously not heard about Baba. Huma was so devastated that he put Sarosh on the phone to speak with me. When Sarosh started sobbing, I knew neither Nariman nor Sarosh would have been able to stand the initial shock if they had been present when Baba dropped his body. It seemed to me that beloved Baba, in his compassion, had sent them both away. Nariman to take care of selling the factory and Sarosh to attend some work for him. As I could not bear to continue repeating this heartbreaking news. I made only one more call, asking someone else to inform all Baba's lovers in Bombay. To add to my agony, however, everyone immediately started calling me to verify what they had been told. Nariman arrived home. Katie came from her office, and Sarosh came from Nargis and Yuma's house. The four of us left immediately in Sarosh's car for the long, anguish-filled drive to Ahmednagar with our families and other Baba lovers from Bombay following some time later. When we reached Mehrabad, we were told that beloved Baba's body had been placed in the crypt. We went straight up the hill to his samadhi, where we found Padri and several others. Padri told us that Mera had broken down and Erach and others, unable to bear seeing her in such a pain and fearing that she would collapse and convince Mani and other women to take her back to Merazad for the night. He felt that after the whole day's ordeal, the woman would not have been able to withstand spending all that night and the following day in Mehrabad. Padri opened the door of the Samadhi and Katie, Sarosh, Nariman, and I went inside. Beloved Baba's body was lying in the crypt, but when I looked down, my shock at seeing him the way I had imagined a few weeks earlier made it seem as thought we were lying 50 feet below us. Padri, seeing our stern expressions, immediately told Sarosh to take us to his house for the night. The following morning at 4, we returned to Upper Mehrabad to wait at Samadhi for Mera, Mani and other women to come. When their car arrived, I opened the door and Mera got out. I was about to embrace her when she cried out in anguish. What will I do without Baba? How will I live without him? There was nothing I could say, so I silently held her in my arms. Mera's grief was so deep that we all suppressed our own in an attempt to console her. It is impossible to describe the experience of being present when the avatar of the age leaves his human body. Baba lovers from all over India started phoning and sending telegrams to Adi sir, begging him to postpone the interment of beloved Baba's body. Dr. Ginde said that his body could remain uncovered in the crypt for duration as long as it showed no signs of deterioration. And he instructed Gohar to examine Baba's body every day to determine when to cover it and close the crypt. Day after day, thousands of lovers flocked to Mehrabad by plane, train, bus, car, and bullock cart, even on foot as one group left and another arrived, singing bhajans to our beloved Lord. Even though we were heartbroken, we were sustained by the love that flowed from the hearts of these who had come to bow down to him and gaze upon his face one last time. Years later, I was looking at the picture of Christ I kept in the room with the photograph of Baba that he had given Nariman and me at our wedding at the wedding. For the first time, I noticed the words Jesus in sculpture. returned beneath it. Suddenly it struck me that Jesus looked very much the way Baba had looked while his body was lying in the crypt in his samadhi. I knew at that moment why I had been compelled to buy the picture and remembered the day when Baba had asked me about it and told me to keep a lamp under his photograph burning 24 hours a day. The light from the lamp reminded me that even though beloved Baba had dropped his physical body, the light of his divine presence would continue to burn eternally. During the day before Baba's interment, we women stayed by Mera's side wherever she was. She cried inconsolably to Baba in the Samadhi, and it was good that her tears flowed easily. Had she not expressed her anguish, it would have been very difficult for her to maintain her mental and emotional balance. Her grief showed others how deeply she loved her Baba, beloved darling Baba. When we could bear Mera's tear no longer, we will take her to Baba's cabin and sit taking with her near the stretcher that had borne his body from Mirazat to Samadhi. Sometimes she would become quiet and composed, greeting with great voice the woman who came to her with folded hands, saying, Jai Baba. Men with folded hands would also try to catch a glimpse of dear Mera. Those closest to her had witnessed the total devotion Mehra had for Baba, and we honored her as Baba's beloved. Now Mehra was to live the secluded life she had led thus far, so that all of Baba's lovers, both men and women, will witness the perfect love of his closest disciple. I felt that Baba had left her behind to play the very important role that he had been gradually preparing her for carrying on his mission of pure love. In order for Mehra to play this role, she had to accustom herself to many new situations, among them learning to converse with men, something she had not done before. Baba led me intuitively to use the circumstances to help Mehra take a first step in this direction. When some of the Western men arrived in Mehrabad, I took the opportunity to ask Don Stevens if he would like to say Jai Baba to Mehra. Surprised, Don asked if that were possible. Then I went to Mehra and told her that Don Stevens wanted to say Jai Baba to her. Mehra, in her grief, agreed automatically. So I brought Don into Baba's cabin. Facing Mehra, he said Jai Baba. Mehra, without looking at him, softly said Jai Baba and told me something to say Don to her. Don said a few words in response. The next day, I told several men to stand outside the Samadhi in a row and one at a time say Jai Baba Mehra. When she came out, they did so and she replied Jai Baba in return. Mehra was in the state of shock and responded to the words Jai Baba without giving any thought to the fact that she was speaking to men. Anybody wanted to continue from here for reading?
Yeah, let me come with that. Although Baba's body never showed any sign of deterioration, the Mandli decided that on the seventh day the crypt should be closed. The atmosphere of grief had become so suffocating that we could no longer postpone the inevitable moment of Baba's return. It was 7th February, the date of Baba's birthday that year, according to Zoroastrian calendar. At his precious, as his precious body was covered, it seemed as if the very essence which had sustained our lives was being ripped away from us. We cried silently, knowing Baba wanted us to accept what had happened. Beloved Baba was our heart and soul, our only light, and we all fell lost. But like machines, we continued with whatever tasks needed to be done. Even though he had dropped his physical body, Baba was still asking for our complete resignation, expecting us to surrender to his wish, even at this time of helplessness and hopelessness. We were orphans now, yet in all our anguish, Baba's gentle, loving hands were ever on us. Later, we heard stories from Baba lovers around the world of unusual events occurring at the time Baba dropped his body. But the most amazing was the account we read in the papers of the heavily rainfall in Mecca, ordinarily a desert. Muslims on pilgrimage were unable to approach the flooded Kaaba for 7 days, 1st February till 7th February, the exact time that beloved Baba's body was lying in the state. In his compassion, Baba arranged everything in a way that helped us to carry on, however slowly. After he dropped his body, telegrams and phone calls kept coming in from groups that Baba had contacted. Everyone wanting to know whether the plans that he had made for the darshan in Pune would be carried out. We began to remember and discuss the various comments Baba had made prior to 31st January, when, because of his health, the Mandli had wanted Baba to cancel the darshan. He had said the darshan program must take place. It should not be cancelled. He then asked, "Is it all right if I give darshan lying down?" He had also said, "In March, we will march to Pune." Putting all these statements together was like doing a puzzle, all of us having different parts which fit together to make a whole picture. By the end of February, it was clear to us that the darshan Baba had scheduled for April to June 1999 should be held despite his physical absence. During this time, I had a dream from which I awoke overcome with emotions. In the dream, I was standing in a doorway watching Baba and Mehra. She was coming down a staircase, walking towards Baba, who entered through another door. He extended his hand, saying, "Come, Mehra, and we will do the prayers." Because Baba was no longer in body, Mehra hesitated, as if wondering how she could touch him. Baba extended his hands towards her until her fingertips were touching, and her whole countenance suddenly changed. I could see Baba pouring a transparent liquid from his hands into Mehra's. From the expression on her face, it was clear that her whole being was undergoing a transformation, that something mystical was taking place. At the end of March, we were all in Pune preparing for this great darshan. Our grief was still raw, and arriving at Guru Prasad without Baba had been terribly painful. The palace felt cold and empty. Mehra's emotional state was particularly fragile, and Baba lessened our agony by giving us the task of sustaining her. I remember that the previous October, Mehra had shown Baba a pink sari embroidered in gold, embroidered in gold, telling him she wanted to give it to Dina Talati's daughter, Parviz, as a wedding present. Baba said, "But it's so beautiful. Why don't you wear it?" Mehra replied, "Where can I wear it? I am old and I won't suit me anymore." Baba responded, "Old? Just wait and see how beautiful you will become after 6 months." Baba's words rang in my ears as I counted the months and realized that he must have been referring to this time. Mehra had always been kept in the background, but now she would participate in this darshan, and her inner strength and purity would shine for all to see. On the first morning of darshan, just before 9, we all gathered in the hall. We had placed a large photograph of Baba in his empty chair. It was nearing time to open the doors for the first flood of Western lovers who had come from distant places to be with Baba in a wholly new way. Suddenly, Mehra broke down and cried, "What do we do without Baba?" He pleaded with her not to cry, telling her that she had to keep her spirits up, that Baba lovers had come thousands of miles, and she needed to help them by displaying strength and courage. Baba Mehra composed herself. The doors were opened, and people poured into the hall and sat in rows on the on the floor. As the clock struck 9, Kirat said that all those who had entered, "You have kept your appointment with God." Despite the fact that Baba was no longer in his physical body and there was no one who would who would or could ever take his place, his lovers still came in groups from all over the world for a week at a time. In the morning, the Westerners came to Guru Prasad, and in the afternoons, the Easterners, with musical offerings to their beloved. Baba's grace rained upon us, and love poured from all his lovers. Some who had been fortunate enough to have been in Baba's physical presence were terribly pained by his physical absence. They wept loudly as they bowed down before his chair. Ironically, those of us who had been most deeply wounded.
Jay Baba, I just wanted to add that can you go back to the last page? There's this mention about that it rained. So and it also mentions that for 7 days it was raining
Yeah.
continuously in Kaaba and it was flooded. So I mean, Baba has said that whenever it rains, it is a sign of my presence. That's one. I just want to take the analogy that uh, Pune and Bombay last maybe 48 hours have been witnessing real downpour. So I don't know. It's a sign from Baba, or it is definitely a sign from Baba. But and it's torrential rainfall which we had record in 66 years is what the IMD Pune recorded. So just sharing with the group. Jay Baba.
Yeah.
I think it's a part of global warming also because
Yes, yes. So
there's a
it's
I think let's continue reading the whole the feel part would go. Maybe towards the end we can talk this. Yeah. However, we witness the force of Baba's divine presence as his love touched those who had never met him. The love that poured from their open hearts day after day gave us respite from our sorrow as the darshan continued, and the numbness we had experienced began to melt temporarily. We could all feel Baba's deeply within us saying, "My work has to go on. My love will sustain you. I am here with you. Shanta Devi, who owned Guru Prasad, was at the darshan for a number of days. On the first day after she greeted Mehra and Mani at the doorway, she came into the hall to greet me. As she turned to look back to Mehra, she suddenly said, "It's like Baba standing there." Although Mehra didn't physically resemble Baba, she did look different from me, and I was to overhear remarks of this kind rather frequently from then on. At the end of 3 months, we had to face the inevitable and lonely return to Merazad. All of us were still grieving, and I often sat quietly thinking about different moments with Baba. He had left the body when a violent spasm seized him and stopped his breathing. My mind kept returning to the day, months earlier, when a spasm in his leg had thrown my arms into the air while I was massaging him. The look in his eyes had been trying to convey to me that a spasm would bring about his death. I now understand the grey shadows I had seen on his beautiful face. Around this time, I had another dream of Baba in which he was seated on a bed. His face was white and dark blue, and his eyes were almost almond shaped. I knew that he had dropped his body, and I stood in the corner of the room, looking at him, feeling very sad. Baba extended his hands to me, and I asked Baba, "What should I do?" He gestures to me that he was giving me his hands, so why don't I take them? Since he was not in body, I wondered how I could. But when I gently took his hands in mine, kissed him, and pressed them into my eyes, I began to sob but was unable to really cry. I said internally, "Oh Baba, why did you go away?" and then awoke sobbing. Only Baba's grace could have sustained Mehra through those first difficult months at home in Merazad. Without him, as she remained immersed in sorrow, not only was she missing Baba's physical presence, but she often berated herself for not having done enough for her beloved, as she deeply regretted that some members of her family did not recognize Baba as God. We continued to try to console her, and when she asked me, "When will I go to Baba?" I would answer, "You will, Mehra, but first Baba wants you here. He has left you behind for a purpose. Baba had given you so much love. Now it's your turn to show others how to love Baba." Go up a bit. Mehra was standing near her bedroom, window looking out into the garden, one day in July, when she suddenly noticed that Baba's face had clearly appeared in the bark on the trunk of the tree directly in front of her. She couldn't believe what she saw as she called Mani, and the two of them confirmed for each other this wonderful event. When Baba's image appeared on the tree, she found great consolation in gazing upon this tangible sign of his presence. With his image, beloved Baba was beginning to draw Mehra out of her sorrow, for only if she were happy would she be able to share her love for him with others.
6 months later, Mera wrote the following message for all of Baba lovers. Despite her heavy heart, she read it loud at the first Amar Tithi, the anniversary of Baba's dropping his body on 31st January 1970. Those gathered outside the Samadhi. Beloved Babas, very dear lovers, beloved Baba was love. He is love, and he always will be love. Beloved Baba, for his love for us, his beloved children, had suffered and given of himself. We must love him more and more to be worthy of his very dear love for us. Serve him by spreading his message of love and truth. Love him above everything. Love and live his words. Beloved Baba has warned us to hold on to his Daman. Whatever happens, this is very important. He is beloved God man. May we all be true to his beautiful love for us and his trust in us. May beloved Baba bless you each, his dear ones. Jai Baba. Yeah, now we can discuss a bit. This program, which happened in Pune, there are also recordings, audio recordings on manlihall.us, that manlihall.org. So one can find and listen. And there are also a talk by uh, Pratap Kaka uh, when they celebrated the first birthday of Baba after dropping his body, 21st of February 1970 in Pune, where Madhusudan had composed a very beautiful song. And Kaka describes that the song was so emotional that almost everybody in the hall started crying. So that's one story. And there is also a story of, because this program of February was to be telecast live on radio in Karachi, that area, and the family there, I forget the name. They had contacted that director of the radio station, and the program was, and they were to organize a program which Baba could listen live in Pune, in Ahmednagar. And on 31st of January, Baba dropped his body, and this man goes home uh, for his lunch, and he sees that Baba, because he had seen the picture, so he recognizes by face who is Baba, and he had given the permission for this telecast. And Baba was sitting on the veranda of his home, and he says, "Baba, you are here." So Baba says, "Now I am everywhere." So that's that story once again in the manlihall.org, which would be interesting to listen to. These just two things I just
Man
want.
was from Karachi. Man was from Karachi, is it?
Yeah. Director of radio station. I mean, very, very popular name, though I am not able to recall it in Baba world. So, because there are several Parsi families in Karachi, right, who are Baba lovers. And after partition, of course, they came back.
Sanjay
Haji.
do you remember the lyrics of that, or at least
Yeah,
the
yeah, yeah.
title of the program?
I have that. I have. Uh, 1 minute. Let me. It is तुम क्या कहे गए करके सब सुना अब जिंदगी में बस रोना ही रोना ऐसा करके उसका स्टार्टिंग है दर्शन दे दो हृदय निवासी something like that. So I can pick up. I have it in my diary. I have to search it a bit.
You can probably post it in the Telegram group.
Yeah. Lyrics I can definitely post. Yeah. 1 minute. Just give me. तुम क्या गए करके सब सुना अब जिंदगी में रोना ही रोना. ऐसा है. Second song. When you want
That's
it, it takes
beautiful.
time.
Beautiful.
Yeah. Just give me a minute, maybe. You can discuss other things. Let me pick up the song. Yeah.
So
If anything else somebody wants to add. Yeah.
so this incident of Baba appearing in the on the bark of a tree, and your incident which you said that Baba said that I'm everywhere. So he lives
Hmm.
amongst us. For those who have not seen him in his physical body, he lives.
Hmm.
He says uh, uh, my magnetism, presence, and whatever significance is going to remain for 100 years in a special period where even after he drops his body for 100 years is the
Yes.
window we have. Jai Baba.
I got the song. Yeah.
Oh, lovely.
तुम क्या गए करके सब सुना, अब जिंदगी में रोना ही रोना. तुम थे, तुम हो, तुम ही रहोगे, पर नहीं चैना क्या समझा. I actually started singing on a lower pitch. I'll sing it again. अखियां सगुण रूप की प्यासी, अभिवादन लो हृदय निवासी, अभिवादन लो हृदय निवासी. सुंदर तेरा मदन मनोहर, भूलत नाही रूप प्रभुवर. कमल नयन मधुहास्य बिना ये जीवन होय उदासी, जीवन होय उदासी. अभिवादन लो हृदय निवासी, अभिवादन लो हृदय निवासी. It has four more paragraphs. I'll just sing two of them. प्रेमालिंगन तेरा पाया, दैवी स्पर्श मृदु अपनाया. क्या नहीं पाया, क्या नहीं खोया, हो घट घट के वासी. अभिवादन लो हृदय निवासी, अभिवादन लो हृदय निवासी. तुम बिन प्रीति कौन करेगा, तुम बिन बोलो कौन जमेगा. कौन मुझे अब धीरज देगा, मैं हूँ अब बनवासी, मैं हूँ अब बनवासी. अभिवादन लो हृदय निवासी. जब जब आओ इस धरती पर, ले अवतार प्रभु जी मेहर. मधुसूदन को शरण में राखो, बिनती यह अविनाशी, बिनती यह अविनाशी। अब अभिवादन लो हृदयवासी, अभिवादन लो, अभिवादन लो, अभिवादन लो हृदय निवासी। अवतार मेहर बाबा की जय।
I think this tree
So
was there till last 10 years.
what this?
This tree, I saw this tree when it was there. When
Tree?
it was there for,
Which tray?
yeah,
Tree.
tree.
Tree was there. Yeah, yeah, yeah. 10 years back, almost it fell down. Actually, there is no more tree anymore. First, the
Yeah.
image disappeared. First, the image slowly disappeared, and after that, the tree itself went away. So,
This
the
was
tree is
this
not
was
there.
this was in Mehrazad.
Yes,
Yeah,
this
yeah,
was
yeah.
in Mehra.
Just opposite outside Baba's window on the south side. Yeah. So, you want to read more? I think, or we
I
can
can,
stop. Maybe.
or anybody else to read, or if no one is there, I can start reading.
Yeah, you may start. Yes.
Can I start? Okay.
So Sanjay, would you like to read more? So one sec, one sec.
No, it's okay.
Sanjay.
It's okay. I mean, what we read was so emotional. I am quite absorbed there, actually. So,
Yes, yes, okay, okay,
my thought was
yeah,
not to read anything any further.
and a really a beautiful,
Yeah.
melodious rendition of the bhajan.
Thank you, Jai Baba.
Deva.
Even I
Please read.
heard the Mehra about Mehra, right? So Baba said, after I drop my body, Mehra has the privilege. She can also, she might not live also after dropping his body, but and if she's, I don't know if it's true or not, but if she's suicide as well, that's fine. Is it true? That's something I heard. So Baba mentioned if Mehra also give up after Baba's body drop out, then it might happen, but which didn't happen actually. So there was some story like that. ऐसा कुछ है ना कि बाबा ने बोला था कि मैं जाने के बाद मेरा विल नॉट बी एबल टू
No clue,
सर्वाइव.
actually. No clue. I mean, typically, I'm not personally very interested in these kinds of hearsays. Yeah,
Yeah.
doesn't matter. Yeah, Jai Baba.
Yeah. So Ashokji, what shall we do now? Shall I read continue or what?
Yeah, you can read. I think you wanted to read. Continue. No problem. Yeah.
Okay. Chapter 22. Through the intelligent handling of marriage, a person may traverse so much of the spiritual path that it needs only a touch by perfect master to raise him into the sanctuary of eternal life. Mer Baba. Back in January of 1961, I had received a confidential letter dictated by Baba with warning never to mention the contents, particularly to Mehra, when I visited either Mirazad or Guru Prasad. Mirazad, Ahmednagar, 10 January 1961. Strictly confidential. My dear Arnawaz, yesterday Baba informed me that he had already told the woman now living at Mirazad that in case Mehra survived after he dropped his body, which may not at all happen, then Mani, Gohar, Meru, Naja, and Rano should continue as far as possible to live together with Mera, whether in Merazat or Merawat Hill. Same thing I was just talking about actually. Okay.
You got your answer. Okay.
Yeah,
Good.
same thing I
Yeah,
was
Jai
just
Baba.
talking about. Baba also wishes you to stay as far as possible with Mera as long as she lives and wherever she prefers to live. Of course, in the remote eventually of Mera surviving Baba. However, Baba gives you full permission to be with Nariman at Bombay or elsewhere as and when you or Nariman will want it to be so. But Baba says we would want you most of the time to stay with Mera and now and again pay visits to Nariman and Nariman too can now and again pay visits to you to the place wherever you are with Mehra. In which case, Nariman will be staying with the Mandali as usual, for some of the Mandali have been instructed to be near at hand of now. Baba wants you to show this letter to Nariman and to keep this strictly confidential. Baba also wishes you to show this letter to Katie as she too was received instructions on the subject. You must not let anyone else know of this, and Baba wants you to remember not to mention anything of this to Mehra if you happen to visit Mehrazad or Guru Prasad in the near future. Baba wants you to write an acknowledgement jointly with Nariman, and he does not want either of you to fill in the list worried over anything untoward happening for nothing going to happen that is beyond the knowledge of your beloved Baba. Baba's health is steadily on the side of a very gradual improvement, and he wants me to send his love to you both, who are dear and close to him. Your lovingly, Erach. This is the one. Yes, Baba expressly wants me to add. Don't think about this unnecessarily. You may all die before me. This, of course, is just what came out while we were talking, and Baba expressed his wish with Nariman at Merazat. So, this is Arnawaz photo with Nariman. Okay. Nariman and I considered Baba, Mera, and Mandali to be our family. Still, we were honored by Baba's request, and we had written back immediately telling Baba that, of course, we will do as he wished. At the time, I had momentarily wondered what Nariman would do if I went to live at Merazat. Then, 5 months after, Baba dropped his body. Nariman completed the sale of his factory and joined me in Merazat. And I realized that beloved Baba had laid the groundwork for both of us to live there. Although we kept Ashiana and periodically spent time in Bombay, we lived in Merazat most of the time from them on. Along with Gohar, I assumed responsibility for the running of Merazat since there were no Baba lovers to help us and very few servants at that time. So this Ashana building, is it still in Mumbai? Means still, Baba was living there for most of the time, right? Many times. So that building is still
It
there,
has
or
been
is
now
it?
raised. It has now been
Sorry?
raised. It was
Okay,
there and
okay.
there was an office running and some difficulty people were able to access, but later years they stopped letting others enter into the building. Now it has gone into redevelopment and raised. That's what I last heard.
Nariman was greatly affected by the loss of Baba's physical presence. He had never been the type to talk about his feelings, and now he became even quieter and more withdrawn, unable to express his grief. I did not know how to bring out of the shell. As it turned out, beloved Baba pulled him out of the disinterested state he was in and put him to work. Nariman had been made a trustee of the Avatar Mer Baba Trust when it was formed by Baba in 1959, but the trust had no function until after he dropped his body. It was soon apparent that the first chairman wanted to take full control of the trust, totally ignoring the suggestions of the other trustee. All of women were upset by his irregular practices. Nariman came out of his depression to do Baba's work, becoming like a lion for the trust. particularly after the chairman's filed a lawsuit against the rest of the trustees when they voted to remove him from office and make money the chairman. Most of the other trustees, having spent their lives in the ashram with Baba, had little experience with business and legal problems. However, Nariman knew the ways of the world, so they all depended greatly on him for his wisdom and advice. Many used to call him skipper because of the capable way he took charge and organized the other trustees, steering them through rough waters. When the original chairman suddenly died in March 1973 and the case was dropped, Nariman again became very detached from everyone and everything. Then in October of that year, Nariman was stricken with malaria while we were in Bombay. His temperature rose to 107 degrees and he was taken to the hospital and put in ice packs. He appeared to be unconscious until the doctors brought his temperature down to 104 degrees. Then he opened his eyes, looked at me, and said, I have been to a long journey. I have been on a long journey and have returned from the place far away. He was kept on the ice packs for hours, as the doctors did not want his temperature to rise again. They thought that Nariman would probably be mentally affected by the high fever, but he was not. He was quite himself a model patient, never irritable, and always cooperative with the medical staff. In fact, a nurse once teased Dr. Dadachanji, at least say no sometimes. During this illness, Nariman felt very strongly that he was going to die. And afterwards, he told one of the Mandali that he was living on a borrowed time. One night, I was sitting quietly by Baba's photo in our second bedroom, thinking of Nariman. His health had become quite fragile. At the high temperature, had put a great strain on his already weakened heart and left him with the erratic pulse. The seriousness of Nariman's condition suddenly struck me, and I was filled with the pangs of loss. I asked Baba, who do you make me suffer now? Let me suffer when the time comes. A voice within me said, I am giving you suffering now so that you will suffer less at that time. 9 months later, on 21st June 1974, Nariman had a severe heart attack while we were again in Bombay. When I told him he had to go to hospital, he looked at me with such a sad expression that it pierced my heart. He must have sensed that he would never return home. He was admitted to the intensive care, and I was greatly relieved that Dr. Alu was in the Bombay for some work, as she was permitted to see Nariman at that time. His condition improved, and after 4 days in the intensive care unit, he was moved to an ordinary room in the hospital. Nariman's condition was so serious that we were told he would not be able to leave the hospital for at least 2 months. As silence the approach, I began to wonder how Nariman, Alu, and I would manage to keep silence, as Nariman had frequent pains in his chest and needed someone to be with him all the time. He was sleeping, and I was sitting nearby, thinking about this problem. Then a feeling of peace swept over me, and voice inside me said, "You won't be able to keep silence here." I immediately stopped worrying. The following morning, however, I again started wondering how we could observe silence at the hospital. The voice within me repeated, "You won't be able to keep silence here." I spontaneously asked, "Where?" "In Mehrabad." The thought of Nariman's body being taken to Mehrabad crossed my mind. The voice then said, "You and Nariman will lead different type of life for 10 years." After I heard the voice, the whole episode was completely erased from my mind. I stopped worrying about how we would manage on Silence Day. I knew Baba would help us to find a solution. As Nariman's pain increased day by day, I sat quietly by his side, repeating Baba's name. Sometimes I held his hand and once felt his pain move through his hand into mine. Then on 2nd July, I was preparing tea for him. He suddenly asked for a pill. He was dizzy and sweating profusely, and he had turned very pale. Alu ran out and called for help, sensing that Nariman was having a massive heart attack. I told him to take Baba's name silently, as speaking was too great a strain for him. The doctor arrived and gave orders that Nariman be moved immediately to the intense care unit. After he was moved from intensive care unit care the first time, Nariman had told me how uncomfortable and miserable he had been and asked me not to allow the doctors to put him there again. To soothe him, I had agreed. Aliu knew that Nariman needed to be in intensive care, but she loved him and wanted to please him, so she argued with the medical staff about about moving him. The other doctors were very angry with her. They could not understand why a doctor who should know better was trying to prevent them from taking patient in critical condition to intensive care. My heart was sore as I had assured Nariman that I would not permit him to be taken there. But because he had been through such agony, I would have promised him anything just to give him some relief. Trying to ease his mind, I put kerchief over his eye while he was moved to a stretcher. When the attendant stopped at the door of a unit, he removed the kerchief to see where he had been taken. He didn't say a word, but his sad eyes broke my heart. Dr. Alu stayed with him as I was not allowed inside. I wanted so much to be with Nariman. I could feel the intense pain he was experiencing, but I was helpless to do anything about it. So I sat outside the room quietly, taking Baba's name. Nariman sent word through Alu telling me not to worry, that he was coming home. Another specialist who was called in to examine Nariman told me that his condition was very critical. But if he pulled through the next 3 days, the immediate danger would be over. Continuing to take Baba's name, I locked all the thoughts trying to rush through my mind, as only that then could I surrender my heart to his wish and will. An hour later, the doctor, knowing that Nariman was dying and that I would want to be with him, took me inside. Nariman looked me and said, "Don't worry." I knew he was suffering more emotionally than physically at that moment, as he struggled with his attachment to me. Baba gave me such a strain that I said with expected courage, "Nariman, I'm not worrying. So don't you worry either." Knowing he didn't believe me, I said with more conviction, "In Baba's name, I'm telling you that I'm not worrying." And at that moment, Baba took all worry from me. Despite my pain, I wanted Nariman to be released from his Mayavi connection with me, not knowing what else to do. I started singing Bujavinar Arti very softly, close to his ear. Nariman loved this Arti, composed by Baba himself, and an expression of great peace came over his face. When I had finished singing the Aarti, I said, "Avatar Mer Baba ki jai." With the words ki jai, Alu called the doctor as she could no longer feel Nariman's pulse. He asked me to stand outside the screen while he gave emergency treatment. I had been taking Baba's name continuously for about 15 minutes. When the doctor looked out at me from behind the screen and shook his head, saying, "Nariman is no more." Nariman died at 2 p.m. and took several hours to make all the arrangements to take his body to Mehrabad. So we didn't arrive there until 2 following morning. The minibus we hired had to go very slowly as it was raining, and we had to go over the Lonavala Ghats mountain passes in the dark. All the men and women mandali were waiting in Mehrabad when Nariman's casket arrived. Everyone had high regard and affection for him. I was surprised and especially touched by the presence of Meera, as she had never attended a man's funeral before, and it was very unusual for her to come out in the middle of the night. After Nariman's casket was placed in the Dhuni platform, he recited the Parvardigar prayer. We recited the Parvardigar prayer and sang the Bujave Nara Aarti. Mehra laid the first rose on Nariman's chest, and others did so in turn. As a special gesture, Eraj placed a garland on Nariman. Mehra stayed by my side, holding my arm. Suddenly, she pointed to me, pointed to the sky and said, "Arnawaz, look, clouds covered the moon, yet its glow illuminated them, creating a lovely, clear image of our beloved Baba's face looking down upon us." The casket was taken from the Dhuni platform, and as it was lowered into grave, everyone tossed flowers on top of it. Baba's image appeared once again, this time on the far inside wall of the grave, where his face and upper torso appeared to be carved into the earth. The image resembled one in a mural in his samadhi, which is on the right wall as one enters. Little by little, Baba's image disappeared as the earth was thrown into the grave. Baba's gift of his presence in these images comforted me. I was able to feel Nariman's peace and joy at the same time that I was feeling the pain of our separation. Baba alone knows what I experience. I have no words to express what I received from beloved Baba through the pain and sorrow I felt after Nariman's state. I was reminded of saying I had learned in school, which has always remained with me. The path of sorrow, and that path alone leads to the lead from where the sorrow is unknown. Physically and emotionally, I had drained, and outwardly, it might have appeared that I was grieving, but my separation from Nariman was not a loss, it was gain. Again and again, I found myself saying to Baba, how can I ever thank you for what you are giving me in this agony? What can I do for you, my beloved Baba? What can I say to you, Baba? Drew me ever closer to him. And through this deep and intense experience, I also felt closer to Nariman than I had ever felt before. Years later, I had powerful dream of Baba and Nariman. I was in the large room, and just inside the door was a big photo of Baba with an oil lamp burning in front of it. It was Nariman's birthday, and he entered the room looking radiant. As he looked a few steps forward me, I said loudly, Nariman, first bow down to beloved Baba's photo. Nariman didn't seem to hear, and he continued walking toward me. I repeated myself. Then, when Nariman was just 10 feet away from me, he was suddenly transformed into beloved Baba. Nariman was all love, a man of great humility and dignity. He was soft hearted and selfless in his dealings with others. A prayer he wrote shows these qualities clearly. Teach me, my Lord, to be sweet and gentle in all the events of life, in disappointments, in the thoughtlessness of others, in the insincerity of those I trusted, in the unfaithfulness of those on whom I rely. Let me put myself aside to think of the happiness of others, to hide my little pains and heartaches, so that I may be the only one to suffer from them. Nariman loved Baba with all his heart, but when it comes to talking about his beloved, he was always very reticent. A few years after Baba dropped his body, his lovers were asking some of us to relate our experience with God man. When Nariman was asked, his reply was, I met Baba. I fell in love with him and I followed him. That is my experience. During the time Baba stayed with us at Ashiana, Nariman always accompanied him around Bombay when he was contacting musts. In the early days, Nariman sometimes found it embarrassing when someone recognized him on his car while Baba was going down to the mosque on a crowded footpath. But in latter years, he no longer cared what anyone thought. All that matters was pleasing Baba. In every way, Nariman lived up to the meaning of his name, honest and faithful man. He had been so considerate, especially where I was concerned, always trying to keep me happy. This kind of love is rare. Knowing how much he loved me, I cannot even imagine how much love he had for beloved Baba. After Baba dropped his body, Nariman used to say that I was his only attachment. He depended on me so much that I thought if I were to die first, it will be very difficult for him to adjust to life without me, especially missing Baba the way he did. I often remembered the birthday poem he had written for me way back in 1940. Here to you, dear friend, may you live 1,000 years, just to keep things smiles in this, uh, just to keep things smiling in this well of human tears, and may I live 1,000 too, 1,000 less a day, because I would not care to be on earth, and here you will pass away. No matter how painful losing him would be, I had always felt it would be the best if Nariman died before me. I knew Baba I loved him so much that he could take care of everything. Baba had already arranged for me to stay in Mehrazad and I would be able to adjust life alone. After his death, I found myself remembering moments when Baba had shown his special love for Nariman. Once, when we were in Pune, Baba felt that something had happened. Nariman had asked me to find out what happened and let him know with great difficulty because he kept problems to himself. If he thought they might hurt me, Nariman told me why he was upset and I informed Baba. Why didn't Nariman tell me? He asked. Baba then gave me this message for him. Today, after seeing the expression of your face, my heart was lacerated. I love you more than you can know. Everything will change. Keep happy, sleep well, eat well. Then Baba said to me, whether Nariman feels unhappy, my heart is distressed. Even though Nariman would never talk about his troubles or pains to Baba, bearing everything silently, Baba is Baba in his all-knowing would often convey his love through letters or by phone. This is some letter. Birthday telegram Baba sent me in 1965. In the telegram, it mentioned 1745, address Ahmednagar, 1452, Arnawaz Dadachanji. My love and blessings to you, who are one of the brightest jewels in my divine treasury. Give my love to my dear Nariman, who holds this jewel to his heart in trust for me. Mir Baba. So one time when I was with Baba, in Guru Prasad and Nariman was in Bombay, Baba told Eraj to phone him with the following message: be happy and don't think about anything. If you will remain happy, Baba will be happy. Baba says, I know everything. Don't think about anything. Everything will be all right. Baba sends much love to you. Another time in Mandali Hall, Baba said to Nariman, when you need me, I'm there. When I need you, you are there. Baba told me that he felt happy when Nariman and I came to stay with him. He said, my greatest lovers in Bombay are Arnawaz and Nariman. They are my best lovers. There is no pair like this. Baba even referred to Nariman as a saint. Once, when my family were all at Ashiana and Baba was discussing certain problems with us, he said, you have no idea who Nariman is. There is no more comparable to him. It is difficult to find one like him. He is a saint. Nariman and I had great rapport and respect for each other's intuition. But there were still many difficulties and quite sufferings in our marriage. In the early years, Nariman was working so hard, 7 days a week, that I began to feel neglected. He would come home too tired to talk, and it seemed as thought he had lost the wonderful companionship we had before we were married. Preoccupied with business matters, he might forget to keep appointment or party. Of course, he would feel terrible afterwards, and I knew the reason he was working so hard was to provide for me and his family. I also reminded myself he had far more responsibilities than I, but still being human, I felt hurt at times. Although Nariman and I never fought, we did argue sometimes over personal matters, but we tried to help each other to please Baba. Once he wanted to dismiss an employee, a Baba lover who was causing a great deal of trouble at work, spoiling the atmosphere for everyone. Baba had told him to employ this man, and I advised Nariman to be patient. That Baba will take care of situation. Nariman was convinced, and after only couple of months, the man told Baba that he wanted to leave Bombay for another job, and he quit working for Nariman of his own account. So, shall we stop here for today? Page number 211.
Yeah, if the chapter is ended, we can start. Stop. Yeah.
Okay, okay. So
Chapter
let me just
ended.
check.
How many
No,
pages? Oh, so it's long. Then you can leave it. Yeah,
three
we can
pages. There are
stop.
3 pages. Two and a half.
No, it will take time. Maybe 10, 12, 12
It's a two
minutes.
pages. It's a 2 pages
We,
actually. So we can,
we can read it next time. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, then let's complete the 2 pages. Yes. We also had to deal with the little irritations that every married couple must face. We were, after all, two different personalities. Nariman's focus was on Baba and his business, and he wasn't interested in spending time on such activities as shopping. I bought all his clothes for him, with the exception of shoes, those he had to try on. I used to have to remind him again and again to buy shoes when he needed them, sometimes for months, and when he finally agreed to go shopping for them, I would try to get him to buy 3 or 4 pairs so that he will not have to go through his process very often. I had my own weaknesses and shortcomings, with Nariman endured with love and tolerance. Because of illnesses and deaths in my family, I sometimes stayed with them for extended periods. Nariman would not say anything, and sometimes he would come and stay with me. But then he would gently prod me to come back to Ashiana. I realized later he felt neglected when I took on too many responsibilities for my family or other Baba lovers. While the many deaths we had to face brought us closer to one another, there was also problems to face as we adjusted to the process. Despite our little difficulties, however, we had periods of great harmony in our marriage. After Nariman's business had become successful and had more time, I looked forward to him coming home in the evening. We would have long talks, both of us enjoying the companionship that I feared we had lost in the early years of our marriage. Above all, we were good friends. Baba wanted to develop a selfless, unattached love between us. And true love always involves both pain and joy. Baba said that true love is sacrifice, and sacrifice in marriage means learning to want to please one's partner. The ego does not want to please the other, but rather to please itself. The selfishness makes us want to satisfy ourselves rather than consider the needs of others. Choosing another's happiness over our own does not come easily. So Nariman and I, likely anyone else, had to make a real effort. Love is partnership. If each partner remembers to think of the other, they neither will fear being taken advantage of, and Baba will not allow one person to take from another indefinitely. He will see uh, he will see to it that one who is being spoiled eventually learns how to give also. No marriage is easy, but the difficulties show us where our weaknesses are and challenges us to choose to give, yield, be honest, and try to understand the another. Try to understand the other. If instead of being demanding the critical, we ask Baba for his help in understanding how to love the way we want us to. He will show us the way. I knew I had to discipline myself every day to make choices befitting a married woman, despite the fact that I had not wanted to marry, believing the path of spirituality to lie outside of marriage. I obeyed Baba and I have thanked him again and again for giving me such wonderful man in my husband, as my husband. Without our asking, Baba told Nariman and me on three separate occasions that he would give us a son. My mother had also told me that my horoscope indicated three children, but in the end, that was not what Baba chose for us. Baba first said he would give us a son in 1949, just before he went into the new life. When he was calling Nariman to Merabat quite often, he told Dr. Ghani to stand up and pray to God that Nariman and I have a son. The second time we were in the Mahabaleshwar and with Baba in 1952. One day I went with him and the woman Mandali to Arthur's Seat for the picnic. I was with Baba and Mera in one group, and the rest of the women were sitting separately. Baba was eating when he suddenly said to me, Arnawaz, I will give you a son. I will give you a good son. I said, Yes, Baba. Mera said, Baba, you must also give her a daughter. One son and one daughter will be nice. He just smiled and nodded without saying anything, but he had twinkled in his eye. The third mention of a son occurred in 1956. When I was serving Baba breakfast at Ashiana, he got up from his chair and made me sit it while he stood behind me and put his hand on my shoulder. I will give you a good son, he said after a pause. He repeated, I will give you a good son, but I will take him away when he grown up. Later, in 1963, when a few of us were sitting with Baba, he said to me, Look after others, but a mother to everyone, and keep giving to others. As I was leaving the room, Baba clapped and turned. I said, You are my mother. You are also Mehra's mother. When I heard these words, my mind became totally blank. I had no idea what Baba meant. But a couple of years earlier at Guru Prasad, he had held Nariman's hand and said, I am your son. Only years later did I begin to understand the meaning of Baba's word. Just as children are everything to their parents, Baba and Mera were everything to Nariman and me. Despite Baba's statement that he would give us children, Nariman and I were happy that we did not have any. If there had been children for us to look after, then Baba, who was so practical and down to earth, would not have come to our apartment at short notice the way he often did. He would have thought about who would look after the children and where they would stay while he was there. Having no children, we were always ready for Baba's call, always prepared to have him visit us in our home. I am so grateful to Baba for keeping us free just for him. I think that's it. Baba and Nariman's photo. So I think we can stop here at page number 214.
Yes, 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 yes. Beautiful read today.
Good
Yeah,
one. Very good.
lovely. Very enjoyed. Yeah.
We should just keep a track of the page so that when we resume next week or
Yeah. I will just note it down here, and I will inform to Karthik also.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Chapter 23 we need to read next. Yeah.
Yeah. Page
Okay.
number 2. Yeah. Okay.
So this arrangement is even for tomorrow or it was only for today?
It's for today. Tomorrow, I think we read discourses. Oh,
Yeah.
Karthik, you're saying Karthik is Karthik
Yeah,
asked
yeah.
only for he asked
Only
for
for
only
today.
for
Okay.
yeah.
ठीक है. Okay. Good. Jai Baba.
Jai Baba. Jai Baba.
Jai Baba.
Jai Baba.